Gotta make sure it's actually up because it takes a few seconds. I think. We good? I could edit all this out if I have to. Welcome to the Survivor Idle Thoughts podcast. This is our first podcast. We'll be talking about episode 5. My name is David. I'm joined by Max and Jake, both not Dawson and Billingsley. Was that correct? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, correct.
Good. All right. So, we're gonna be talking about episode 5 of What was this episode titled?
Oh, let me double check. Oh, it's The Devils We Know.
The Devils We Know.
Yes, I really enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to talk about it. But I think right now, should we introduce ourselves?
If you want,
so
we can do that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Max, and I'm a university student from Australia. My favourite Survivor season is Survivor Gabon, which is a very unpopular season, but I love it, and it's the best. And I think the best casting decision that Survivor ever made was casting Corinne from Survivor Gabon. She's in my opinion, one of the greatest characters that Survivor has ever produced. And I think that the worst casting decision that Survivor ever made was Dan Foley, hands down. The man is a monster. And even though it's good to have conflict on TV, and especially on Survivor, it's shitty to have people who are just insulting people's mums and saying that you're not worthy. And everything he did to Shireen was the worst thing you could ever do. And even though it happened, I wouldn't have even aired it if I was CBS.
Oh, I would have aired it. Regardless, I would have aired that.
Gosh.
That's just the thing that was so good. It makes people talk, but we won't really talk about that part. Jake, you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I totally disagree. Dan Foley is a great casting decision. Brought in probably millions of views. But on a different note, I'm Jake. I'm also a university student from Wisconsin, actually. Huge Survivor fan. Been watching since first season. Definitely my favorite season is without a doubt Kaoh Rong, the original Brain versus Brawn versus Beauty. The best casting decision that Survivor has ever made, hands down, Russell. And Russell Hantz, not just any Russell, the Russell Hantz. Most controversial player of all time, but definitely one of the most interesting and best Survivor players of all time. He went and he played the game. Least favorite Survivor, not in the sense of worst casting decision, but least favorite Survivor of all time is definitely Kat from Survivor One World. If I could not stand that girl talking. Every time she opened her mouth, I just swear my IQ went down 10 points every time.
Wow. That's shit.
I have a very different opinion about someone like Kat, because I think that even though she was obviously an idiot and obviously unprepared to play Survivor in every single way, she was such a great character, because it's if you get
Dan
the
Foley
dumbest...
wasn't?
No, because if she's the experiment of, if you get the dumbest person in the world and put them on Survivor, how will it go? And I think she is the kind of character who'd be perfect on something like a beauty tribe, because that's all she has. She is 100%
she's
beauty.
not even hot.
Have you seen her? She's shredded. By the way, she's now
she's shredded.
She's
yeah,
ripped. But
so
I'll quickly.
On Facebook and...
I'll introduce myself because we're about to, I think, tread into some territory we don't all want to get into. My name is David.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm the only one here that is not a university student. I actually went for 2 weeks, but that's besides that point. My favorite season, I don't know. See, I'm up in the air on that one. Maybe Heroes versus Villains and Kaoh Rong, somewhere around there were my favorite seasons. My favorite player, I think, or the best casting decision was Jeremy Collins, who I actually got to meet. He's awesome. He's an awesome dude. He's literally the nicest human being on the planet, and he's great television. He has this an ability about him that just makes him so. I can't think of the best way to put it.
I got a question.
Yes.
How did you feel about his Final Three speech? I know a lot of people hated him for it, thought he got the sympathy vote, but I totally disagree. What do you think?
No, he had it locked up. That was a game that there was no way. Because the thing about it is you probably see 30 minutes of him actually on the show compared to the challenges and everything else. But I thought he was just people liked him. He was very sociable, which is one thing that when I first met him, I was so taken back because he has this like there's just something about him that the way it comes off is just so. He like takes. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. He's like kind of like it feels like a star. Whereas like some contestants, when you meet him, you're like, oh, it's just a contestant. Kind of, you could walk by him on the street, but something about Jeremy comes off just so.
He makes
like,
you feel as a better person.
Kind of something. It's hard to explain, but my least favorite. I'm not gonna. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of my least favorite. I'd probably say Corinne was also one of my favorites because I just loved how Sugar. I hated Sugar. That is who I hated.
Yes.
Fucking hated every single time. Oh my god. Every conversation. She's like, my dad died. Okay, that's like I get it, like, and that's sad, but like, oh my god, it felt like every confessional she had, it was involving her dad. Like,
see, I think that Sugar is a great character because you either love her or you hate her, and the best thing about her is she had really lovable moments and really hateable moments. And I found that when I've watched Gabon, which I've watched like 1,000 times, or maybe like 10 times.
That's right. I attacked his favorite season. Whoops. Go on.
Yeah. That I like change from going like I love Sugar and I hate Sugar during the season because there are moments like every time you see Sugar in the Sugar Shack, she is a hero. She is like standing up against all the thongs and all the coda and like just saying like, oh, I'm invincible because I go here, and like she's like being a lone warrior while then she's doing these terrible things like moving throughout the game and just playing the game insanely. I think she is the best character because she's a hero and a villain, and I hated it when they brought her back for heroes versus villains because she's not a hero. Nor is she a villain. She's just a cool character.
I couldn't stand someone like Sugar just constantly bitching about like she like I just
it's the same thing with Kat, dude.
Yeah, well, like,
that's true.
Yeah, it's just she and like her. Oh my god, that final tribal! I loved when Corinne got up and just ripped her a new asshole, and she like Sugar flips her off. It's like, yeah, you might have had maybe like the slightest chance in hell to actually win the game. Bob probably had that game locked up anyway. But yeah, that's something you don't do. Regardless of how much you hate someone, you gotta refrain yourself. But we're not talking about any more of these previous contestants just yet. So, episode 5. This was a pretty straightforward episode. I think one of the most straightforward episodes I've seen in a long time. You knew who was going home pretty early on.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. You edit. I mean, put it right on a plate in front of you. You knew who was gonna go home.
Yeah. But I think that was really interesting because from early on I pegged that Anna was going to be sent home. But with all the twists that were happening and also some of the editing that happened later in the episode, I was like, oh, maybe it's like a bluff by the editors. So I thought it was a good idea to put something so obvious and do something like a double bluff in the editing department.
Well, at the end... So I mean, we'll talk about that further. We'll just quickly go through the episode. So the episode opens up with a pretty cheesy opening before the swap. I was kind of surprised we didn't get the whole. All right, so I feel like I'm in a great spot right now, and I'm not going anywhere. In reality, it's like you don't know. Like this is just something that bothers me. It's like this is something that was egged on by producers on the beach. They're sitting there going like, okay, so what do you feel like right now? Do you feel like you're in a good spot? And they're kind of, I feel like they're egged on to say this, and you kind of go, like, you as a viewer, there's some people that are like, the casual viewers are sitting going like, oh, like they don't know what's coming for them, and then like us, we're going, are you fucking kidding me? Like you don't say that in Survivor, That's just, I don't know. And then there was also the Joe, the Joe thing where he got that little cut, and then you see like Peter is basically Brain's bitch at this point. Every time he has to kiss their ass so hard.
I mean, he's doing everything he can to stay friendly. He's finally pulling out a card that he hasn't used in this game yet, and that is being a little charismatic and having some kind of feelings. And being a doctor going to this game, I totally thought, he would be a much more like charismatic person, and he's finally pulling that card out. And it's like, well, dude, where have you been all game?
But the guy's such a narcissist, and I think he's like such an excellent character to have on this show because he's like he's got his head so far up his butt, and he thinks he's like the most beautiful person.
Well,
And
he
like, it's
kind of is.
funny
I mean,
because he's.
have you seen the
Oh yeah,
brains?
he's attractive.
He's probably the most beautiful person in that tribe. So I mean, internally, I would say Neil is like the most beautiful person. No, but actually, Joe might have him beat. Joe might have Pete beat because like he's like what 70, and he looks like he looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Joe
Joe's
looks
a badass.
50.
He's not
I
Joe.
love
He's
Joe.
not 50.
No, I said he looks 50.
Oh, he looks 50. Okay, he looks better than I think he like looks better than Jeff he probably does. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see that 2.5 minute
calling
episode.
him out. Ooh, hopefully Jeff is listening right now.
I doubt it.
Might have hurt
I
his
doubt
feelings.
Jeff is sitting on a computer in some beautiful hotel room going, "Oh, that motherfucker." Like what's that gonna do? I'll see him. I'll tell him when I get called for casting this season. Or this 35, 36. When I get called, I will get called. When I do, I'll sit in front of him and tell him like, "Dude, lay off the Botox. He's starting to creep me out." You know, I will ask him that question. I'm actually curious if he does Botox.
Oh, he definitely must.
Oh, he
Have you
has
looked
to.
at his face?
Him and
I've
Keith
seen-
are the same age. There's
Him
no
and Keith.
way. There's no way. He has to be doing something.
But then it's interesting because someone like Joe,
Dude,
who's
he's
like,
a god.
yeah,
Jeff
but like
is a
Joe
god.
is the same age as Rudy was the first time he played, right?
Really?
And Rudy looks like like he's half dead, like he's that
Well,
old.
Rudy didn't look
Well,
terrible.
Joe,
Rudy didn't look terrible
oh
then.
yeah, but
Now
Rudy's
he
just a real old guy, and they are the same age, so I find that really interesting.
Yeah. Well, also, like, I mean, he's our version of Chuck Norris, if you think about it. Like, he is a Chuck Norris because I don't even know what Chuck Norris looks like anymore. Like, I tried to type in like, what does Chuck Norris look like now? You can't find a picture of Chuck Norris. But I'm curious. Like, he's Survivor's Chuck Norris, and it's great because to see a guy like this. And by the way, on Twitter, you know he has a dog, like a little tiny like dog that he dresses up and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. Like, you would think a guy like
Is
that
this
would have,
Chuck Norris?
huh?
Is that Chuck Norris?
No. I'm saying
Are
Joe.
you saying Chuck
No,
Norris?
no.
Oh, okay. I was worried.
No,
Chuck Norris is like. Oh.
No, I bet you Chuck Norris probably dresses his guns up or something. Like, I don't know. But moving forward, you also see Neil trying to kind of. He found the idol. But he was hunting for it. And there was a confessional. I think when he found the idol, he doesn't seem very charismatic. Like, he seems like a kind of making a murderer style interview. It was creepy to watch. Like, I love Neil, but like he has a very straight sense of humor. Like, it's or dry sense of humor, I should say. I would say. Like, he doesn't really like kind of seem like he's happy. He just kind of has a straight face, kind of like Liz. Liz creeped me out too. Like, is there something wrong with the brains over there? Like, are they just?
You know, I just think that's the kind of people they are. You know, Neil is a very soft-spoken person.
Have you seen him on Twitter?
I kind of like that about him. It's soothing. On Twitter, he's hilarious. He's one of the funniest people out there.
Which this is why I liked this episode. Like this episode, it showed that part of Neil where he's very like cunning or not cunning, very quick. He's very very quick to kind of, reply back to something or make some like little comment or whatever snarky comment about whatever he does. I'm really excited to see him going forward. I would like to see him get to the merge. I wouldn't want to see him win just because I want to see him come back and make more snarky comments. That's all.
And
basically that.
what I found interesting before we moved to the tribe swap
Of course.
was how before this segment we only saw stuff in the Brains camp, while usually it's traditional and Survivor editing to go and see what's happening at Brawn Beach, which I find really interesting. And also the thing that I was most surprised about is that they didn't do like a setup piece where they talked about how strong the Beauty Girls Alliance was before they cut to the swap that has kind of decimated the Beauty tribe.
I kind of think that they didn't do that because we as viewers know how strong that All Girls Alliance was on the Beauty, and they didn't need to prove to us that it's there. But did anyone else find it really interesting how Debbie said to, I don't remember who, but she said to someone on Braun, I think, how she's super tight with Neil. It might not look like it, but we're close.
You don't say that.
We didn't get that. You don't. First of all, you don't really say that. Secondly, I didn't get that from any from any episodes previous to this that her and Neil are close at all.
But we don't see that. So that's a thing. They could be a lot closer than we think, but we'll get further into that when we actually get to the actual swap. So the actual swap comes ever since listening to Corinne mention this in one of the All the Fixins podcasts. Why is everyone so fucking surprised when someone comes around the corner and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like I love when Neil was like, even Neil calls her Blondie, and like, but everyone just seems so like have a big reaction. It's like, what? Do you care? You know? But speaking about the Neil thing, about calling her Blondie, I'm kind of curious. Do Jason and Scott call her Blondie during the challenges, and they just pick up on it?
Oh, I think that must have been the case. I think
Unless it's just because she is blonde, and they don't know her name, they're just calling her Blondie, and she is pretty much the only blonde on that tribe. And
if you think,
go ahead.
If you think about it, they've never talked to Alicia before, and
Right.
the only thing they get from it is seeing her.
Right.
You know, during all of casting and all,
Right.
you know, being in LA and finals and stuff. The
Yeah.
only thing you get is from their looks,
Mhm.
and that could just be a coincidence that he called her Blondie just because she has blonde hair,
Yep.
and the producers are just trying to point that out.
Right.
But I don't know, or they're doing it in challenges too. Scott and Jason calling her Blondie.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like after that last challenge, and I don't. We can even get to the topic of them bullying her in maybe another episode or something. But
Oh God.
well, no,
Please.
I don't
God,
think
Neil.
they are. I completely understand what they're doing. As I probably been a lot nastier to her just because like someone like that would tick me off so much. Like I'm a very nice guy, but like when it's just like the constantly of just like having her say like, hey, do you want to like do something? It's like, bitch, are you fucking like, fuck off. Like, leave me alone. You know, I'm hungry, I'm tired. Like, if I were Scott, I would probably told her to fuck off and maybe kick some sand in her face. Because he found 2 bags. You know, yeah. I'm not going to fully go into it right now. But Julie
back to merge.
Yeah.
Or
Or
not
this
merge,
tribe
tribe swap.
Julie gets the red buff. Max, me and you had a brief conversation while the other two were watching. I had a feeling it was going to be Aubrey. Like, for some strange reason, I just felt like production might have done something where they were like, hey, let's get the weakest person, and they chose it. Somehow just ended up being the 18-year-old.
Well, the thing is, like, it's a very common thing to know. Like, all my friends know that I love Julia. She's one of my favorite characters on this season.
Yep.
Because in this season, with so many over-the-top people, she, just for me personally, conveys so much interesting personality without having 800 confessionals and without being like so over the top. She's just like an interesting personality for me, right? And I was so upset when Julia was picked for this buff, even though I feel that this decision that they made, making like the Brawn Beach like a functional version of Exile
Because it
Island,
was so shitty.
is a really good idea.
Yes.
Oh,
I don't think we're going to see it
think
again.
it's
Huh? Go ahead.
I just think it's a great idea.
I do too, and I think I would love for them to use it again, but don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to that was like a one-time deal sort of thing. Also,
I think Julia's screwed.
So I have a fun little story I did share with Max, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I was in Boston March of last year before they left. I think the filming started in March 30th for this season, and
They left March 28th.
March 28th they left. So
I
was
believe so.
March 6th I think was if you've ever heard of PAX.
Yeah.
So I went for the PAX East. And I had eaten the convention food, got sick, whatever. Was getting ready to go home. Me and a couple friends were waiting on a train. There were a group of girls just standing on waiting to go, and they were getting on the train. I think they would have passed Boston University, or they got off at one of them that was going to get them there, whatever. But one of them looked exactly like Julia. She was wearing this, like they were all wearing these like big white hats. If you ever, maybe Jake has seen this. I don't know about Max. But if you've ever seen like college kids, sometimes they'll have like these big white hats. I refer to them as condom hats, and like there's like profane things written on them. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I've
never seen them.
You've never seen that, Jake?
Oh, is it like a baseball cap?
No, it's like a big white hat, I refer to it as a condom hat because that's what it looks like. I don't know if that's true. Like, I heard you can get them at like Ben and Jerry's or something. I don't know what the fuck that is, but
Or like a winter hat?
I guess it's hard to explain. I maybe I can find a
Oh,
picture and I'll show
yeah.
you in a. But so I swear I saw her. So when the Redmond leaked the cast and I saw her picture, I tried to figure out where I knew her from, and I was like, maybe it's her. So I don't know if that is her. Maybe I'm just completely like maybe I was so out of it and whatever. But I swear that was her. I would love to get confirmation on that.
Julia, if you're listening, Julia, let us know.
Yeah, I'd love confirmation on
Yeah,
that. But so
that would be really cool. Like,
oh, if that was the truth, yeah. If I actually had an opportunity, would have went over and said something. But at the time I looked like a what was it? A mix of like Santa Claus and the friggin' marshmallow monster from Ghostbusters. It was horrible.
Send her a message on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be a weirdo. Even though this is just as
hello.
happen. Yep. There we go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I felt like the tribes were extremely unbalanced, though. I felt like I felt like when you have Jason, Sydney, and then Nick, who are big, muscly people. They're young. They're younger people. Also, you have Michelle and you have Neil. Like all these people are good. Like Michelle and Neil could probably dominate puzzles. Debbie, I don't know. Maybe she's good at puzzles as well. They flew right through that puzzle. Um, oh. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on one second, guys. Something is happening. I guess they can only hear me for some reason. Uh, okay, hold on one second. Let's see. Oh, nope, this is why. Here we go. Talk. Come on, why is it doing this to me? I'm trying to get it to work, and I don't know why it's doing this. Go ahead, talk one more time. No, it's not working. All right, give me 1 second. I'll restart the stream. We should be. We back up. I think it's coming back. I think it's slowly coming back. Can you guys hear anything? In the actual.
Hello.
Yeah. There we go. It should. All right. So everything's back. So where were we?
It's back.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah, we're good. We're back.
Yeah. So we were talking about the tribe split, and even though you were saying that you think Gondal is a weaker tribe than Chenlo, I really think that any tribe with a combination of Scott and Peter is like a decent enough tribe for challenges. And they've also got Joe. So I think in terms of challenge performances, I think they're balanced tribes. But the most important thing for me is that, like, you don't have an automatic majority of one tribe or one tribe just pagongs all the others. So,
well, I think
I really think.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh.
I think that. Go.
All right. I'm sorry, but I think brains are gonna get picked. I think they're eventually gonna get picked off. I think bronze and beauties are gonna team up and just gonna fuck everything else. They're gonna pick them off one by one.
I strongly disagree, right?
Really?
Because if you look at this yellow tribe that the blue tribe that went to tribal council, that tribe, when we come back next week, will be 2 beauties, 1 brawn, and 3 brains. And if the brains, and I assume that tribe will go to tribal council again, because they are a little bit weaker, even though they do have Scott.
Right.
But I think, let's say they go back again, right?
Yep.
They have the 3 brains who will probably stick together, and then they can just rope in Scott and take out Julia. And then Ty will have this 5 alliance where he's really tight with Scott and is connected to these 3 brains. And I think that then when the brains reconnect at the merge, when they have like a 5, they have all the members except for Liz, they could do some really strong demolishing. While I think that the 2 tribes that will do the best in this game in the end are going to be brains and brawn.
Right. Okay. I guess I could see that. I feel like that's going to end up... I think people are going to go, okay, the brains are too powerful. We're going to fuck them over. I don't see Julia going home next. I don't see Ty going home for another couple episodes. Scott will obviously... If they vote out Scott, they're fucked. But if they do vote out Scott, I could see a potential Jason getting pissed and, whatever. I also believe... I'll quickly get to this one statement. Does Debbie have ADHD? Because, the bitch is everywhere. I tweeted this out. I tweeted this out last night saying, she can take some of my Ritalin that I don't take anymore from school because there's a scene where she's, on a tree going back and forth, and I kind of wanted the branch to break and just her to collapse and just get medevaced. I can't stand Debbie as a person right now. Not as a person, and as a character in the game. She's just so annoying. Every fucking time she talks, I slowly just think, maybe I should just start drinking because that will get me through this. I could only imagine.
Scene out there. There's a secret scene out there that just got released by Survivor where it's Neil and Debbie on the beach, and Neil goes up to her and he's like, you got to quiet down a little bit. You're gonna start pissing some people off. And then she gets off to the side and she goes a little confessional and she's pissed at Neil for saying that. And I just think she's a little bit psycho. It's just. She's been in jail before.
Well, that was, I don't know what that was a little, that's just out there. I don't know. But also, and I like talking about production a lot because I feel like they definitely did this. Production went up to Ty and said, maybe you should align with Scott. Or maybe, have you talked to Scott yet? Something along that line because Jason has an idol. Scott and Jason are aligned. They're the Wonder Twins. That could have been a potential thing.
I don't believe.
Do that.
Oh, they've done it. They've done it before.
I think by the questions that production asks you during the confessionals, you kind of get an idea of what's going on with other people. But they don't go up to players and be like, "Hey, do this, do that."
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. In the confessionals, I think Ty would take it in a way I haven't talked to Scott. Maybe I should. Because I don't think Ty really would understand that. I think he can easily be manipulated, and production probably wants to keep Ty around for a lot longer because he's entertaining. He's kind of a silent narrator for the season. That's just my personal take. And, production will do what it takes to keep him around.
I think Scott's making a big move there. Ty could have used that idol, and he would have changed the entire game. You got Julia coming back. That's 3 beauties in control of that entire tribe then. And Scott, that's a big move. Now if Scott can pull together a few other moves, you might have a winner there.
Yeah.
He's got moves behind him to preach to the jury.
Right. And that he's a very I was surprised. He's very smart. I thought as a basketball player or because whenever you see a sports player doing an interview or something, you just gotta go this dude has no clue what the fuck to do, PR wise, personal, they had no idea what the fuck they're doing. This guy's
kids do drugs.
Smart. Yeah, especially that. I think he's a lot smarter than you would think. He's very game savvy, and I'm gonna give him a lot of credit. He seems very, very smart. Also, I did mention that Ty is basically the size of Scott's dick. I just kind of want to say that. I don't know what Scott's dick looks like, but you can just imagine Ty just standing right next to him. That's essentially the size right there. So he's just, I don't know. I mentioned that. Also, Nick talked this episode.
I love it. Yeah. I love hearing Nick talk. I like Nick. I don't know about other people.
He's a douche. The dude's a douche. Sorry.
he's trying to play a villain,
I
which
know.
kind of pisses me off. Like, just be yourself, dude. But I don't know. I like him as a person. I mean, I think he could be a good player. I mean, he let Caleb do all the hard work while he was around, so he would kind of fly under the radar. And then hopefully once the merge comes around, Nick comes out like Beautiful Joe and takes it away.
See, the thing
I
I
don't think
think
he's gonna
about Nick is I think Nick is out next episode or in a few episodes. I think he's getting like the classic Nick never gets any airtime, but then the episode before he goes, he gets a whole bunch of airtime, right? This has been a technique that the Survivor editors have been using for a while now.
Brenda Lowe.
Like it's been yeah. Also like Katie Hansen from Survivor Philippines.
Oh my
and I
god,
think
that's right.
going to yeah, exactly. So like I think that Nick is a really interesting character, but I think if he was a character that would last until the end game, he would have been portrayed as a villain at the beauty camp, because with his smugness and his narcissism, it would be very easy to portray him as a villain. But because he's just being the narcissist who's flying under the radar, I assume
He
he'll
won't
be
be a
going.
villain until Jason's gone. He'll never be looked
Yeah.
at as the
Yeah,
Jason's
I
gone.
think Jason's gonna be around for the long haul. I could see Jason
I
getting
hope so.
very, very far, like Final Four.
People don't realize that villains win the game. It's just
That's a fact.
It's a fact.
Yeah.
What villains have won the game?
Wait, what?
Like who would you say are villains that have won the game?
Two right now:
Tony?
Russell Hantz, Boston Rob, Tony.
No, he said one.
Russell Hantz has
Never won.
the game.
Russell Hantz has never won.
Oh yeah, good. Well,
Tony, Brian Heidick.
He thinks he won. Okay.
Ah,
Oh yeah.
I'd definitely say Brian Heidick is a villain.
Sandra, I
But
would
I
say
would
somewhat a
never-
villain, like a villain character.
Oh
Uh,
yes. Yes.
I don't think
Twice.
that Boston Rob, in
No.
the game that Boston Rob won, he wasn't a villain. He was a hero. He led all these people. He never betrayed anyone until he had like his final group.
Mhm.
I think that he was a pure hero in Redemption Island.
Redemption
Richard
Island, he was a
Hatch.
hero. I think Heroes vs.
Yeah.
Villains, he was a hero. Redemption Island, I was like, nah, dude, this guy's a villain. Like, just when I remember the tribal council when was it Christina, when she had that idol, he's like, all right, like he basically tried to get her, like bully her, and not bully. I'm using that term as loosely as possible, but like he tried to get her to like give him the idol by like just going like give it to me, like as like a little kid going like I want it, it's mine, like I've earned this kind of thing. I don't think he was ever a hero. That's just a take again, my own.
See,
All right, then let me take back what I said. Villains might not win the game, but they make it to the end.
yeah, I strongly agree about that. Like, I think that the best thing is to find someone who's an evil villain and take them to the end with you. Because in most scenarios, people will never vote them $1 million. That's why Natalie White is a winner of Survivor. This is why
Well, it's also
Fabio?
because no one liked Russell.
Yeah.
Like because Russell
Yeah.
could have technically won Samoa if he just wasn't a douche to every single human being. Also, someone in the comment section said Rob was the only hero by default. He and Philip were the only cast members on Redemption Island. So what I'm gathering from what they're saying is basically since no one was shown, there was only 2 cast members there.
what about
Which-
Andrea? I would have loved to see Andrea win Redemption Island.
I would
Because she was the hero of that season.
she was yes, our
She
underdog
was
as well.
put in a
somewhat.
Yeah,
Andrea's
she was
hot.
put in a- yeah, that's true too. But like the thing about Andrea is she was put in a terrible position from like day 2,
Mhm.
and that was not her fault. And she fought. She stayed with this strong group, and like I think Andrea is the hero of that season. Maybe Andrea or like even Nat 10. Even though Nat 10 is pretty terrible at the game.
I
And
think she
the
could still have
cast-
potential for being better. Like I still would like to see her come back and play Survivor just to see what she has. Like when you hear like Jeff Probst say like oh like what she might have learned from Boss Rob, people kind of go like oh great, but it's like no, she might have actually learned a thing or two from her time. She's now what 23, 24, and she. You know, I mean, I don't know how if she'll do it now, just because of she's on a new TV show and everything else. But it's
Can
something
we
to
talk about
talk
tribal
about.
council real quick? So
Well, hey,
tribal council.
let's talk about tribal council in like 2 seconds because I just want to run through the immunity challenge. The immunity challenge is kind of just plain and simple. Wasn't very entertaining at all. I said Will Sims cameo being the dead fish. Also, it just seems like, and we're going to talk about this after we talk about Tribal Council, but I wrote it down here saying, it seems like the editors don't care. Doesn't seem like Jeff cares. Doesn't seem like production cares. Does anyone at this point care about this season? Because I get from what I've heard from also Redmond, producers hate this season, and I don't know why, but that's just one thing I wrote down. We'll
It's
talk
boring.
about that.
I
We can
love
talk about
this
it afterwards,
season.
but
Yeah.
I think we talk about the season afterwards. But I agree. The challenge went very, very quick in my eyes. I mean, Debbie and Neil flew through that, like they said, flew through that puzzle within, the other tribe had 3 pieces on there.
Yep. That's one.
Can I say, I think that challenges, even though they're an important part of the game of Survivor, they're kind of boring to watch in most scenarios. And the only time in recent memory that I've really enjoyed watching a challenge was last week when they had all that big stuff happening in the challenge. And the challenge itself didn't really matter. So I found that, like, they need to put other stuff in the challenge to make it entertaining. I would enjoy it if they made challenges like a part of Survivor, but they said, oh, there was this challenge and this guy won. Now let's have more confessionals.
Yeah.
That's what I prefer.
I disagree. I think if they did that, I think they'd lose hundreds of viewers. The challenges, in my opinion, are one of the most important part of the game. It brings out your competitiveness, and it's been a part of the show since season 1. And if they all of a sudden just go, hey, well, we did this challenge and this person won, let's hear what yada yada has to say. Yeah, that will not fly.
Right. Also, another thing is this, that, there's things that can happen at these challenges that, Caleb going down or something. Like, there's so much, or that banter between, Scott and Alicia. We might not have seen that. They just said, fuck it, we'll take out the challenge. Plus, you get to see who is the dead weight, who really wants it. That's kind of how that's why I enjoy the immunity challenges.
Aubrey and Scott this week. During this challenge, literally Aubrey just swam out there, did a little treading of water, and then swam back in as Scott untied everything. And then I saw in a little confessional, Scott goes, yeah, Aubrey did a fantastic job, and I was able to fly through everything. Like, he praised her for it. And I was sitting here like, dude, she didn't do jack shit. She swam out there, sat there like a little jellyfish, and swam back in.
Yeah, but I think that's perfect because Scott can do that challenge, like, with his eyes closed. So they'll put their, like, weakest physical person on that, right? Because all they need to do is swim out, and Scott can do it by himself.
So you're telling me if Aubrey wouldn't have untied one side of the knots, they wouldn't have been done quicker?
Yeah, that was probably a mistake, right? But I think that it was really good for, at least in the lifting stage, for her not to try and help Scott and for her to instead work by herself. Like, let him work by himself, I mean.
Right. But I don't know. We don't get to see every little thing. Now, we'll get to Tribal Council in like 10 seconds. I just want to run through everything. So, they get to camp and everything. You see the whole kind of Ty is really considering this idea of, let me give the idol to Anna. The thing I don't understand, and this is where I compliment Scott a ton, because I think Ty was very, very close to actually doing that decision of giving it to Anna. And why didn't Anna go to the brains? Because if she paid attention and saw Scott and Ty walking out, she could probably be like, oh shit, he's not going to do it. Okay, I'm going to go over and tell the brains what's going on, and I'm going to kind of maybe get them
I'm
to go to
surprised
Ty.
she didn't. I'm surprised she didn't bring up the fact that he had an idol, and I guess that's just the fact that she's actually a human and she likes Ty.
Right.
But if she would have said, Ty has this idol, guys, and he's going to use it against you in the future of the game. Keep me alive. I don't have an idol. Vote him out. Like,
plus,
not a tribal council, but say that before travel to the brains and get them gone.
Right. And this is another thing that Also, I just want to point out actually this one other quick thing. We just literally passed over this. So Scott has Ty has an idol, and then if you think about it, Jason has the current idol, and he's aligned with Neil, who has an idol. So that's 3 idols in one big alliance. If that alliance sticks together, that alliance
that's
can
strong.
fuck everything. Like, and they can make one super idol too. That's what's nuts. So if Scott tells Jason goes to Ty, and then if for some reason Neil finds out that they have idols, they could do whatever. Like that alliance is tight, and they can do whatever. Like,
yeah, I hope that happens, but I feel that never happens. People get intimidated. Oh, he has the idol.
Yep.
Let's vote him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I unless something happens where they become, a strong 3 or strong 4 or Scott.
Yep.
I don't know.
And also quickly again, Julia is a little where they showed her at the beach. I don't think she made fire.
That poor little koala bear.
Oh, I felt so bad for Julia. I think we might have talked about it, but I feel so bad for her. Like, I like the poor girl, like, she owned it like a champ, but I understand why she was crying and everything. She's 18, that's gotta suck. Like, to be alone, she's probably really never been that alone ever. Like, these crew members, and I bet the crew members maybe gave her fire just because they felt really bad or something. But, these people are filming you, and it's like, you're on national television, you're at a point where you're by yourself because they're not going to help you, they're not going to give you food. Unless you go all Kelly Wigglesworth, and it's just, I don't know. I felt bad for her. I
felt
can't
bad
wait to
for
see
my little koala bear.
Yeah, a little koala bear. It's sad.
Panda bear, koala bear,
Yeah,
same
whatever.
thing.
Yeah, koala bear. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that. I'm like, I don't think that sounds right. So going to tribal council for you, Jake. We're going to tribal council. I said very clear first boot. Like, it was very clear for the swap, and then Anna brings up something about how she has no upper body strength, but says her legs are great. And I'm like, does this bitch never miss leg day or something? Like, I'm not calling Anna a bitch.
I missed that. That's.
She says like her legs are great. Like I love Anna and all. I think she's like a
You know
great
what girls
contestant.
You know what girls do at the gym? They squat. That's all they do. They get their butt nice and perky, so us guys can stare at it all the time.
We're a bunch of perverts.
She's trying to distribute. She's trying to distribute from her big, beautiful eyes down low.
Yeah, but this is that's the thing I don't understand. It's like, that doesn't help in the early challenges. Maybe later challenges it could help, but I just felt like that was a bad. Like, that's when you start saying Ty is an idol. But then again, he could play the idol and.
Yeah,
well, the thing is, I think the reason she didn't oust Ty is because she thought Ty would use the idol on her, and then they could start destroying the brains.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's important here to note that really Ty had to make an important decision. He had to decide whether, if he used this idol, right, he had power in this swapped tribe stage of the game, and he, Julia, Anna, Scott would be dominant and would wipe out brains, right?
Right.
But if he didn't use the idol, which of course he didn't use, it then puts him in a really good position for the late game, because then he and Jason can combine their idol, Wonder Twin powers, and slay everyone. So I think it's a good move for Ty as an individual, not Ty as a Beauty Tribe member, to not defend Anna and just vote her out here.
Right. I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. And then
back Ty, when he tries to explain how he doesn't have the idol, you could just, if I was out there, I'd have been like, it sure sounds like you have the idol, buddy. And even Aubrey kind of looks over and she's kind of like,
he has the idol. If I think at this point everyone knows. Like, no one's stupid. But the thing is, they probably didn't want to vote him out because he is an asset. And whereas Anna might not have been, and they probably figured. I guarantee you, the talk of the all-girl alliance came up at some point. They probably said, Julia is going to come by because if they vote out Ty and Anna's still there, then she has Julia. They might get Scott or something, and there could be a merge tomorrow. Like, there really could be a merge at any time. And if maybe the Gondal tribe wins immunity. I guarantee Michelle will still be there, and I have a feeling I wonder who the odd man out would be in that tribe. Maybe Nick. But another thing that got me involving Ty was his leg. From when he went up that tree, that looks really, really bad.
That's what I'm saying. I think he might be the next medevac. Didn't they say that the next injury is like a leg injury or something like that?
I think they should.
I didn't hear that
from a preview or something.
Oh, because I would hate to see a big player like Ty go out in that way.
I wouldn't say big player. I'd say big character, but not big player.
I think it's.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
I think that the fact that he is an idol in this position makes him a big player, and also because he's so lovable, and everyone on that tribe's just like, "Oh, we love you, Ty. Please marry me."
Mhm.
Like that makes him a big player
Mhm.
because he's a big character.
Right.
And one thing that I want to know is if Ty is this medevac and Ty goes home
Mhm.
and he tells Scott where the idol is, and Scott gets his idol, right?
Mhm.
Then Scott and Jason have a super idol. Imagine that.
Right.
He'll run the game.
It's just
Yeah, they would actually be powerful in that position.
yeah, and there's so many possibilities, but also there was a point in this tribal I actually thought Pete was going home because he just doesn't shut the fuck up. It's constant this, like I'm the best around and nothing gonna ever bring me down kind of thing. And he just feels like he is the most important person in the chair, and everyone's looking at him going like, "This motherfucker, we might as well just like, what do we do? Like, should we just do we take him outside and shoot him at this point?" Because he doesn't know what he's doing. He just can't. Like, he seems like he just loves to talk about himself, and he's so close to getting voted out in that tribe, and I have a feeling he will be the next boot in that tribe or in the game.
Who? I'm sorry.
Pete.
I'm sorry. I missed you.
Pete.
Pete. Okay, I couldn't tell if you're talking about Pete or Nick.
No,
They're
no.
like the same
Yeah,
people.
they are essentially the same person, but that's just something I wanted to bring up. And then Anna gets voted out. Will she get a second
Oh
chance?
man, I'm sad. I liked Anna. I liked her big, beautiful eyes. I mean, there's
All
something
right,
to
yeah,
just
yeah.
look at the entire time.
Yeah,
But anyways,
yeah.
I believe that I don't think she should get a second chance.
Mhm.
And in a recent article that just like came out today, Entertainment Weekly, they asked Jeff. They said Anna was my pick to win it all. So that shows you how much I know. Did I overestimate her gameplay, or is she just a victim of bad survivor luck with the tribe swap? Jeff goes, I think Anna has a lot more game in her. She is a hustler, a negotiator, great in challenges, and a person willing to throw others under the bus to save herself. What's not to like? And, she might be a great second chance nominee. So,
Oh, no.
like,
So it's basically confirmed. Because here, I have a feeling it's going to be Caleb and her are going to be the second chance nominees. If they actually do something like that, because we know there's going to be a return.
they're not going to do a second. What I truly believe is I believe that not season 33, season 34 is going to be either Blood versus Water or Heroes versus Villains. It's not going to be a second chance. It's too soon for that.
Well, they know that, and I think they're learning a lesson from this season because they're like, again, they're not high on the season, and I just hope they don't do a lot of this bull crap with I just don't want to see them kind of. I'm trying to think of the best way. Redo the same thing again and again. Like, they're just do something original. Don't do Heroes versus Villains. Don't do Blood versus Water 3. Do something original. If you want to just bring returnees back, bring returnees back for the shits and giggles. You could literally call it like we ran out of ideas, Survivor Edition.
Oh, I want to see all these seasons again. I want all these guys because imagine another Heroes versus Villains. It's been 12 seasons since the last Heroes versus Villains, and I would love to see all these notable villains come back, because the thing that was so good about Heroes vs. Villains was all the two-time players that they brought back, like your Coach and your Tyson and your Randy, right?
Right.
And I think that it'd be great to bring back a lot of the really notable players, like Andrea, who we were talking about. Even though she'd be a third-time player, she'd be an excellent hero, in my opinion.
Corinne would be a great villain, like kind of thing.
Bring back Chelsea. I love Chelsea.
Oh no, I hated every one-on-one world.
I like Troy's in. Kim Spradlin is still not even arguably, one of the best winners. We can talk about that in a completely separate podcast. But going forward,
I like Chelsea because she was just gorgeous. She's my
At least you're honest.
I would marry her.
Okay, at least you're honest. So, going forward, though, Anna, do you think it was a good casting? I mean, I think she was a great casting. If she made it further, she could have done a lot more damage, I think, in the overall.
I think she was a good casting. I just don't think there's enough strategy this season. I think if she was on a season where there's a lot more strategy, like a returnee season, I think she'd be a fantastic player.
Right. I would love to see her come back, just for that reason, because I think she would be really, really good.
And I think that someone that Anna could be very similar to is a Kelly Wentworth. Early
Yes.
boot, who has a lot of strategic skills, but has never had the opportunity to really use it.
Mhm.
And also, one of the reasons that Kelly Wentworth came back, it's sad fact, is that because she's really attractive, right? And that same thing could definitely happen because Anna is one of the greatest, most attractive people that the game has ever seen.
Right.
That's debatable. I mean,
That's just being a dick.
honest-
Okay, moving forward.
no, I'm not saying that. Just she's hot, okay, but she's not one of the most. Okay, go ahead.
Guys are fucking rude. All right.
Hey, I did nothing wrong.
So who would you compare her to? Like, who would you compare Anna to from previous seasons? I think we discussed John Robert, but like from Kaoh, because this is a rip-off of Kaoh, and a lot of the players seem like the exact same as
Garrett.
Kaoh. Huh?
Garrett.
I would say Morgan.
I mean,
Maybe a Morgan
I
Garrett
mean Morgan
combination.
as well. Oh, if you're comparing boobs, yeah, sure, Morgan.
The
Like,
thing that I think is that, if you look inside the beauty tribe, it's actually a very similar sort of casting dynamic with the women.
Right.
Anna and Morgan, and then Michelle and Alexis and Jeffra and Julia. But it's really interesting to think that even
I
though...
just realized that. Because, I was trying to think of that. Like, who would be Alexis? Who would be Jeffra? Okay, that does make sense, because Jeffra and Julia, I would say probably that's the all-American type, I would say. Correct? Am I speaking that?
Yeah, but
right. Okay.
But the thing is, it's interesting because with all the other tribes, I think they cast for similar personalities. But if you look at this beauty tribe, it seems to me like they're casting for similar physicalities. Because if you look like Morgan and Anna, Morgan and Anna are very similar physically, but they're completely different because Morgan, there was nothing to her except for the fact that she was very beautiful. While with Anna had stuff to back up her beauty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. No,
Yeah, I
I
know
know
what you mean.
They probably just didn't want another Morgan. They probably like, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't really know if we can take another one of this. All right, bring in Anna. Like, they just probably... I don't know why she wasn't cast earlier. Like, she's a fan of the show. She's apparently a huge fan of the show. One person I would love to have on the podcast at some point, but if we can ever get her on here, I would love to hear how big of a fan she actually is. But, as long
as she's not yelling the entire time. God.
Yeah, it's...
But go ahead.
Wait, someone yelling? Am I yelling? Oh.
No, as long as she's not yelling all the time. Her in her confessionals, I swear, it's like the producers must be 25 miles away with the camera.
Oh, yeah, she is always yelling. That's right. You kind of broke the glass for me there. But I feel like she is a very, very good casting. From previous seasons, we did talk about someone like John Robert. Jake doesn't really remember John Robert, but he was he was actually very, very loud, but he was so smart and had a very good idea for the game. Even called Todd's win. Said, you're going to win. I'm going to keep an eye on you. You're going to win. And he won. And I don't know. I feel like he could have been, or she could have been a very solid player throughout the time. What do you guys think? Anyone similar?
I think that from Survivor Cagayan, she's like a combination of Garrett and Morgan, with the looks of Morgan and the tribe position of Morgan, but with the poker playing background of Garrett. But I'm gonna go for a little bit of someone from even older school with no poker player connection, but I think similar with their personality. I'm gonna say that I think Anna is a more successful version of Monica Padilla in Samoa, right? I believe that Monica Padilla in Samoa was was a character who was all about making and maintaining an alliance, and was kind of screwed around by twists, kind of like Anna. And then when Monica Padilla returns to Survivor Cambodia, Monica Padilla is all about making this sort of girls' alliance, right? And that's the thing that brings forth her downfall. And I think one of the things that may have ended Anna here is the fact that she had this strong girls' alliance, and people like Ty and like Scott acknowledged it as a threat. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I would say that sounds just about right. Anyone?
Yeah, I agree.
Jake, you got anything?
I just would compare her strictly to Garrett, just with the poker background.
Okay.
I think Garrett was a great player, and if he would have stayed around the show, I think he just like Anna. I don't know Anna. I don't know.
Anna, I think it's Anna.
Would have been
Oh,
he would
okay.
have been the same kind of player.
Right.
Mhm.
Now,
And I've just got one more example that I want to bring up
Okay.
before we finish up, and that's from Survivor South Pacific, and that's Michaela Wingle. I don't know if you
Really?
guys remember Michaela.
I
but
remember Mikhail very well.
Michaela's downfall was not her own fault, right? Her downfall was the fact that Brandon Hant said, "This woman is attractive and it's bad for me, so can we get rid of her?" And I want to ask, do you think that Anna's attractiveness would have a negative effect like Michaela's did in South Pacific? Because she is incredibly attractive, and that in some way hides her brains.
Right.
But do you think it presents her as a threat, as someone who'll be able to charm people in the later game?
No. The thing with Michaela, I think, was the big issue was she was on a tribe with Brandon Hance, and Brandon Hance had a problem with his dick at the time. It was just constantly he was getting this hard on for, and he's like fighting his emotions. And I'm trying to think of like a movie that I could reference that to, and there's probably so many that you could. But it's just he constantly had this issue of I said constantly I think 100 times throughout this podcast, but it seems like Brendan just had a really big problem with his emotions, and again with Caramoan had a problem with.
Oh, dude, he was bipolar as shit.
Yeah.
He's a strict example of someone being bipolar.
Yeah. Now I just want to also we'll talk about two quick other things maybe if they're quick. Next episode, who do you think's going home?
Okay, my personal opinion is that Julia will go home, and I don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
But I love Julia as a character, but I think she'll go home.
Mm-hmm.
But if the other tribe is up there, the Chan Lo tribe, I think that either Debbie or Neil will be sent packing. Probably Neil.
All right, so Jake, go ahead. I'll let you go first or second.
All right. So if Gondal goes to tribal, I agree. I think Julia will probably end up going home because Ty's obviously close with Scott. Julia's an outsider. She doesn't have a strict bond with really anyone there besides Ty. So sadly, my little koala bear will probably be going home. Chanlo goes to tribal council. It's a toss up. I think either no one from Braun is gonna go home. Jason and Sydney are set. It's either Nick or Debbie, I think.
So for me, I'm thinking if what's it called? What's that Gondal? If they go to tribal, it's gonna be Pete. Pete just keeps every time he talks, the people are getting pissed. You can see it on their faces. They're kind of looking at him like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's digging his own grave. He's basically employed James Clement already to dig his grave for him. It's just every word that comes out of his mouth has to be something about Pete and how great he is, and you can see people getting pissed off. If Chan Lo goes, I think it's going to be Nick or Debbie, like Jake said. Nick, I don't think a lot of people like. I think he's going to be a big target, and people want him out now while they can because he might be a challenge threat. Also, Debbie might just annoy a bunch of people, and I think we're just getting this big Debbie build-up kind of coach style. And she might make the jury, maybe. I think the next vote will be like the jury or something because they're going to merge right after. That's what my best guess would be. Also, I did want to talk about this, even though we're not even halfway through the season. If we hit episode 7 would be like the halfway mark. Do you think?
Usually.
Yeah. So production hates this season. Why? I think it's a good season.
Okay, these are my opinions. I have two reasons why I think the production hates this season. Mm-hmm. One, because there is the massive medevac, so that it's that slows down the season and means there's less development and means people can get screwed over, right? But also, and I'm going to make a call here, Jeff Probst, everyone knows, isn't a fan of female winners, right?
Oh, and is he not?
No, look at all Jeff Probst's favorite players. Like they're all this super alpha male type.
Oh
like
yeah,
your
that,
Colby. Yeah. So
I
look
just
at well, just to let me make my point.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can obviously see that there's going to be a female winner because look at this episode. There was even a quote where Debbie was walking around talking to Sydney, and she said, I want a girl to win this. Like, they won't put it in there as a red herring. And also, look at the winner stock. Who can you see winning here? Honestly, Jason has a chance of winning, but his edit's a bit too negative. And I think that somebody like Neil is probably the only other male that has a good winning shot. While there's lots of females who have the classic female winner edit, which is like kind of under the radar until the very end when they win. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think, I totally disagree where he said that Jeff's favorite players are the alpha males. Jeff likes interesting people. He likes people with tattoos, but nowadays I think Jeff likes the young, people that come to play the young guys that come to play the game. He loves Spencer. You can totally tell in every season that Spencer has been in, the 2 seasons that he's been in, the edit, you could just tell that Jeff is like got a boner for Spencer. But I think, they hate this season because there's not much strategy.
I feel like there's enough strategy. I feel like
relying-
there's enough strategy in this. Like, it's enough to a point to, like, I mean, it's not, like, crazy action-packed like I think they were hoping for, like Kaoh style, where the game was constantly changing. But I felt like the first few boots were pretty, like, holy shit. Like, this one was straightforward. The other ones were kind of, like, at the edge of your seat, kind of, is this, this is going to happen. Like, what's happening? Like, I mean, besides Caleb and Alicia. I mean, Alicia we knew was going home. There was absolutely no way she was sticking around. But, like, Darnell
This season would not be interesting, in my opinion, if the conditions were easy. If there weren't these medevacs, I don't know what they would advertise this season as.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't even really. The advertisement would just be the same as every single one, which would be like, watch these people starve. And that's the only thing I think keeping people around. But I do believe that I think, first off, I think Jeff doesn't like a female winner on many reasons. Not because he's sexist or anything. I just think again, alpha males or someone who's like a very. I don't know. I think there's just something about Jeff that doesn't like
the Spain said in the Spain, I don't know how to say his name, but in the comments for our podcast, he said, Jeff likes the people who make the best TV, and that's exactly. Jeff is a producer and he likes ratings.
Right.
So whoever makes the best ratings is who Jeff is going to love.
Right. But I think Michelle, and he's for some reason this whole season. I mean, he was really high on Anna, and I thought Anna was going to get further, but he loves Michelle. He's compared her to the next Parvati, which when he said that to Parvati's face, she could give a shit. Was like, oh, that's great, but like in her head, she's like, I don't care. Like it doesn't matter to me. It's like every attractive girl with black hair is exactly like me at this point. But I think Michelle is going to get very, very far, could possibly even win this season. I think that will be the case.
I think for me that the winner, people who have high winner equity, are Michelle, Sydney, Aubrey, Jason. And hopefully they'll all lose and Julia will win, but I think only those 4 can win in this position.
No jury.
Go
ahead.
What's an Aubrey?
Yeah.
Well, I think Aubrey is actually in a really strong position, though she's under-edited. Like,
oh, I don't think she's on a line, has she? Has she had like an actual confessional yet?
Yeah,
I'd like to see the
confessionals almost every episode. Like this episode, she talked about how she didn't trust Peter and how she liked the majority and how she was close with Joe. And I think that really Aubrey is close with everyone but Peter on the old Brains tribe, which is really strong. And I think that she is in a great position.
Right. I don't know. I think she's going to get found out and voted out. That's what I think was going to happen, or someone's going to see her as a threat. They voted out Darnell for being too social or something.
So. I think it was because he pooped in the ocean.
Yeah, that sea snake now. python that he released out in the sea? No. I think it was just because he was too I think they said it was too social or something. Or he's too likable. But I could see this as an alliance. I think what's gonna happen is Scott, Julia, and Ty are gonna link up on that tribe, and Ty's gonna play the idol and vote out one of the brains, or one of the brains is gonna get ticked off by Pete, and they're gonna vote Pete out. Actually, next episode, I think Joe's gonna get ticked off with Pete, and maybe pitch the idea to Scott, Julia, and Ty. Hey, we have the numbers, we can do this. Let's get them out. And Aubrey might join forces because I don't think she doesn't like Pete very much. Why not get him out? And maybe make him part of the jury or something. All it takes is for Scott, Julia, and Ty to get over to the Chan-Lo side and hook up with Jason, Michelle, and Sydney, and then maybe get Neil. And they basically they can just run the game. And I think, like I said, I think brains are going to get picked off one by one by one.
I can definitely say that.
I think that's a very possible outcome for the season. And I think Michelle and Jason will be a lot closer than people think. That's a thing I could see possibly happening. That's just me.
But there are lots of different options.
I think Michelle's hooking up with Nick.
Oh, that's right. Nick's still in the season. I actually completely forgot about Nick.
I don't know if anyone else, but Nick was had his arm around Michelle under the shelter, and they're kind of looking at each other yeah, we just fucked,
Oh, you mean laying out the shag? We have to keep it a little bit PG.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that part. I don't want to know what's going. I don't know what shag carpets are being laid out on the island. I don't want to know. That's all.
You want to shag me now? Yeah. Shag me later is what's given to Michelle.
See, when I get out on Survivor, this is the one thing I'm going to make pretty clear. The second I build the shelter, not I build the shelter, the whole tribe builds the shelter. I'm going to look at everyone and say, no fucking in here. If you want to go fuck, we'll build a little shelter further out so you two can, do everything you want. At all. Anything that you possibly want to do, go ahead. Have fun. Just don't do it in here so I don't have to smell it, so I don't have to see it, so I don't have to have it touch any part of my body when I come back. Just go do it in the other shelter and clean up afterwards. For whenever you go.
So you'll make like a brothel shelter.
I'll make a love shack is what I'm saying.
Love shack. That should be our theme song.
Love shack. I don't know that song, but I'll look it up. Love shack.
I would love
baby.
that. It's interesting. Maybe Tony's spy shack was actually the love shack for this.
Yes.
For him and Trish.
At my work, we actually have this thing called the love shack. And you could probably figure out why it's called that. People have gone in there and, Should I end the podcast right now on that note?
Yeah, I think that's a good ending note.
Yeah.
And this was a really good first episode, and hopefully our few listeners really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed
changing our name. Changing our name to Love Shack.
Yeah, I'm
Love Shack.
Love Shack podcast. That'd be really fucking weird if I did that. I might do that now. Ooh. Like the ending to do. All right, so probably same time next week. I'll try to figure out. Maybe I'll try to get out of work or do something a little bit different. But we'll see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in, guys. So long.